Hi, it's Mrs. Nelson, and today is the last day of notes on the excretion unit. So today we're going to talk a little bit about kidney problems. So kidney functions are vital to homeostasis. So homeostasis is that stable internal environment in our bodies. So problems with the kidneys can be life-threatening. And if the kidneys start to shut down and your blood's not being filtered properly, well, it's only a matter of time before your other organs start to shut down because of all that waste that's built up in the blood. Nothing else can function properly. So it's really important that to keep our kidneys healthy. We can't survive very long without it. So cystitis is an infection of the bladder after bacteria get into the urethra. If it spreads to the kidneys, it's called nephritis. It affects those glomeruli either by making them blocked or more permeable. So infections can be detected with urinalysis. So you look for blood cells or proteins in your urine. Normal urine never has blood protein or blood cells in it. Again, those are normally too large to pass from the glomerulus into that Bowman's capsule. So if you're seeing blood in your urine, or if you could do it, you have to have a test for the protein. If you're seeing protein in your urine, it means that your nephrons aren't functioning properly. It also should not contain more than a trace amount of glucose. So if you ever have sweet smelling or tasting urine, I'm not recommending that you taste your urine, but that can also be an indication that your kidneys aren't functioning properly. So if the glomeruli are damaged, so really extensive damage, so 2/3 or greater are wrecked, the wastes are going to accumulate in the blood, and that waste is accumulating, that's called uremia. If water and salts are retained, causing fluid accumulation in the tissues, plus ionic imbalances, this can lead to problems including loss of consciousness and heart failure. This is called edema. So if your kidneys aren't functioning properly, you have kind of two choices, again, because you can't survive very long without functioning kidneys. So there's two options. One is treatment, and the other one is kind of, I'll go quote unquote, a cure. So if you have kidney failure, that's called renal failure, your options are one, a transplant. So transplant is kind of like a cure. The other two option is an artificial kidney. And the word I need you to use for that is called dialysis. And we'll talk about the two different kinds of dialysis. Dialysis, people can live for a long time on dialysis, but it's not really a cure. And you'll see as we go through it that it's not really that convenient for people either. So a kidney transplant, so one kidney is adequate, that's enough for normal functioning. So it's possible to donate one kidney and still live. So it requires a living or recently deceased donor to have a kidney transplant. And there's a big shortage of donors. In order to be considered a donor in Manitoba, you have to sign up at Transplant Manitoba. So it's no longer enough just to check a box on your driver's license. You have to sign up on Transplant Manitoba. Organ rejection can be a problem, about 10% for non-relative donors. So if you get a kidney from somebody else that you're not related to, about 10% can be rejected. If you get a donor from a relative, a close relative, it's about 3% rejection rate. The advent of anti-rejection drugs, monoclonal antibodies, so these work against your body's cytotoxic T cells, which we'll talk about in the next unit, protection and control, when we talk about immunity, has helped lower those rejection rates. So everybody has two kidneys. So if you had a close relative that had a kidney failure, you could donate one. The problem is that everybody has two kidneys because you have a backup. So if anything was to ever happen to your good, your functional kidney, you would also need a transplant as well. While people wait for a kidney donor, they can go on dialysis. So dialysis is basically a way we filter your blood and remove the waste and put back in all the things you need to keep, and to keep your blood volume and pH and nutrients healthy, and filter it through dialysis. So there's two basic forms of dialysis: a kidney machine, and that's at a hospital, or a CAPD, so continuous ambulatory, that means you can walk around, peritoneal, which is your abdominal cavity, dialysis machine. So both utilize a semi-permeable membrane. So if you can remember back to the beginning when I did some demonstrations using dialysis tubing and iodine moving in or out of the tubing, dialysis tubing is just tubes with tiny little holes in it that allow things that are small enough to filter across. So the hospital can set up concentration gradients. They can be manipulated so that we set up these concentration gradients so wastes are removed from your blood and nutrients or ions can be added in, and the pH can be adjusted just by those concentration gradients. So the kidney machine, so when no donors are available, a machine is used to filter the patient's blood. So you'd go to the hospital, the blood would pass from across the semi-permeable membrane, which has balanced dialysis or dialysate solution, salt solution. Waste exit the blood into the solution because of pre-established concentration gradients. And we can extract substances from the blood, or we can add things that you're in need of. So it works faster than your real kidney, so you only need to be done twice a week, but you have to go and sit at the hospital for about 6 hours a session. So if you think about your week, and maybe not these past few weeks we've been at home, but maybe these past few weeks we've been at home, if you were on a kidney machine and you needed dialysis, you'd have to either miss 2 days of school a week or go on the weekend and basically spend a full school day sitting at the hospital attached to a kidney machine. So doing that twice a week probably would take up a lot of time, and I'm assuming you could think of better things to do with your time. The other thing is that when we're in something like a pandemic, like we are now, you know, we've been trying to keep away from the hospitals to allow the people that work at the hospitals to deal with the people that are sick with COVID-19. Also, people that are sick with COVID-19 go to the hospital. So if you were on a kidney machine and had to go there twice a week, it wouldn't be that convenient because you'd be maybe putting yourself at a little bit more risk to get something like that. So it would be pretty scary in a regular time, but extra scary in a time like this. A CAPD, a continuous ambulatory peritoneal dialysis, basically allows for dialysis away from the hospitals. So basically the patient has a tube permanently implanted into their abdominal cavity. Dialysate fluid is introduced to the abdominal cavity through a plastic bag. That gets rolled up. So if you were a student, you could move around, but over time, waste and water would pass into the fluid between 4 and 8 hours, and that bag is lowered and the bag drains out. So you'd have a bag of urine basically on the outside of your body that you would have to empty and then reattach and repeat with fresh fluid all the time. So again, dialysis, which is the word I need you to use, is a treatment for a kidney disease. So you can wait until a donor becomes available, but it's really not a cure. So the assignment today is just to keep working through task 6. I'll put some questions specifically up just to kind of allow us to go through them. I hope that's helpful. Take care.